everybody, it's Aaron Breitman coming to you, a good amount after Rutgers defeats number one Purdue in Mackey Arena, 65-64. I was on the post-game call with Steve Peichel, and they laced us in actually to the on-site interviews with the Purdue media. So we got to listen to the players as well, and we got to talk to Peichel after. And so it was a bit of a delay in doing this. But, what can you say? What a performance from this team. I'm just... this was the performance that I believe that this team could deliver. I really did, and it was just so great to see so many players step up. One thing I asked Peichel was about foul trouble. 7 players had 3 or more fouls. 2 had 4, including Cam Spencer, who we'll get to. And, just asking about how they were able to kind of fight through it. And I thought this game was kind of a microcosm of the season in the sense of this team has been through so much adversity already. I mean, it's the first game of January. This team has been through a ton with the injuries, with Paul Mulcahy, with Kayla McConnell, with some really, really tough losses, that 4-day stretch with Ohio State, with that, game-winning shot. And yes, we could talk about what if that shot didn't count, where Rutgers would be in the standings. But that, and then the Seton Hall loss, and the way this team, we were so afraid of Rutgers letting that Ohio State loss affect their performance against Seton Hall. It did. But since that point, this team has played as well as, I don't want to say any team in the country, but, they demolished Wake Forest. They beat 2 low majors about as dominant performances I can remember them, 30-plus wins over low majors. They averaged 31 points over 7 low majors this season. But those 2 games, Bucknell and Coppin State, they, really just were dominant on both ends. And then tonight, just, coming out. I mean, when it was 7-6, 7 minutes into the game, if you're a Rutgers fan, you knew that this was going to go down to the wire. You knew that this was playing out the way Rutgers needed it to play out if they were going to have a chance to win. And defensively, I just love the fearlessness of this team and the aggressiveness of Peichel. The way that they mix things up defensively, the way that they offer full court pressure. I remember back to his first year, he used to talk about it and, wanting to do those types of things. And, this really is the first true team that, he's done it here and there with other teams, of course, and there are other good teams. But, the way this team's able to full court pressure is a weapon for them. Trapping is a weapon for them. Disguising defenses and switching defenses within possessions is a strength of theirs. Their ability to take out the best player on the team. Now, Zach Edey, listen, he had 19 points. He averages 23, I believe. But they took him out of the first half. He came back in the second half. He played really well. But if you remember back to that last possession, the way they defended him, they did not allow him to get a shot off. You're down, you're up 1. You can't let Zach Edey get a shot in the paint, and they didn't. And that, that to me was just very poetic in terms of how this team plays defense. That they were able to do that. Zach Edey, he could win National Player of the Year, and they kept him away from the rim. I think he was triple teamed, and they did several. I think he had he had at least 2 kickouts, possibly 3. Purdue was doing everything they could to get him, get him the ball, and they did twice, and he couldn't do anything. And when it mattered most, they stopped him. So that's how you beat a top team. And I just felt. Listen, Purdue is a very, very good team. And I just felt that, Rutgers was due some good karma, and Purdue, had pretty much had a pretty painless season up to this point, 13-0, not a lot of close games. They beat some good teams, for sure, including Duke and Gonzaga, by the way. And Rutgers just went into Mackey, the toughest place. No offense to the RAC. RAC's number 2. Mackey's number 1, and Rutgers players even say that. And they just went into Mackey. And they beat the number 1 team, undefeated in the country. Just unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It honestly isn't unbelievable. I really thought this team had it in them. It's a remarkable performance, just in the sense too of, going back to the point about this being kind of, poetic in terms of this season. They were up 13 points early in the second half, kind of a la Miami. Purdue, clutched their way back into the game. And I know a lot of Rutgers fans were probably dreading. They thought, this was going to slip away yet again. And this team just responded. And you start with Paul Mulcahy, the way that he came back led the team the last 6 minutes. Listen, you have to give Steve Pikiell credit. I know people were complaining about the offense going away from Zach Edey and attacking him when he had 3 fouls. That the offense, wasn't doing the same things in the second half as they were in the first half. Well, people also have to understand and never give, I shouldn't say never, but some people don't give enough credit that they're playing Purdue. Purdue's a top 25 defensive team. They're number 1 team in the country. Purdue made adjustments at halftime and took away some things that Rutgers was doing. So it's part of that as well. But the adjustment to do the handoffs from Cliff to Paul, I think it was pretty much right after Cliff, threw that fastball into McConnell's face for the turnover. That really changed things. Putting the ball in Mulcahy's hands, giving him the handoff, allowing him to get downhill. His execution at the rim, his relentlessness. I believe he missed 2 shots down low where he got the offensive rebound and scored. One, I believe, led to an and one. I can't remember exactly. He missed a couple inside, but he gave them the offense that they needed down the stretch. He was the guy that took over the game with the ball in his hands and willed Rutgers to victory. And it was just great to see. He's such a great kid to root for. And I think with Paul, and I've spoken about this before, the key with Mulcahy, I've always thought going into this year was, he's an emotional leader. He's always been emotional with his team. He's let it get the best of him over the years in certain spots. You can remember Indiana last year where he got the technical, got ejected, almost cost them the game. There's been plenty of other instances where, he's let the emotions get the best of him. And that was, to me, what was so great to see about him tonight. He was so calm and cool and collected. He was an assassin tonight. He had the mentality of an assassin, and to see him share the emotion after the game, it's like he knew it. He sliced up Purdue. He was that veteran player that, all good teams need down the stretch to win big time games. And Rutgers has it in Paul Mulcahy. And led him with 16 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. And then just his, again, why I think people underestimate Rutgers offensively is they think that they're one tone. You have Cliff down low. Caleb has shown spark at times. Mulcahy did what he did best in terms of, getting in the paint and, in terms of backing down his defender and getting near the rim and knifing his way to the basket. And then he got a little downhill as well. But then I never understood why people didn't count on Cam Spencer, the shooter that he is. And I'll admit, I tweeted before down the stretch. I don't know how many minutes was left in the game. I said, listen, it feels like Cam Spencer is going to have to hit a big 3 for Rutgers to win this game. And, people are saying it's prophetic. And I don't look at it that way at all. I don't understand how people didn't think that this kid was going to come through with a big shot in a big game. I've seen it since day one, looking at film from him last year and just seeing him in practice this year and seeing him in games. He struggled a couple, big games. The Miami game, I think, was 1 of 11. But he talking about assassin. If you saw him on the bench after he made the shot, he a little bit of his psycho-ness came out. And I say that in a good way. He is a madman in terms of being a perfectionist to his craft, to his shooting. He could stay in the gym for hours. He will let a missed shot, he'll lose sleep over it. He's that kind of player that just cares so much and is such a hard worker. And, Paul said it in the post game on BTN. He's brought a mentality to this team that has made them different in a good way. And we saw it against low majors. And we've seen it now twice on the road in Big Ten play, at Ohio State, at Purdue. From the opening tip on, it was a dogfight. And Rutgers just gave, everything they could and pushed both teams to the brink. They were able to come through tonight. Obviously, Ohio State, they fell short. But, this team's for real. This team's for real. The metrics coming into this game, which I wrote about yesterday. Rutgers has never had this good of metrics in modern college basketball coming into tonight than they had. They're 18 in KenPom, 20 in net coming into the game, and then they just beat Purdue, who was number 6 I believe, in the net. It might be higher in the net. They're number 6, Ken Palm, I believe. Yeah, Ken Palm, number 6. Anyway, massive Q1 victory. Massive. They have 2 now. They beat 2 top 10 teams in Indiana and Purdue. Owning the state of Indiana. Rutgers has now beaten Purdue 5 of 6. Indiana 8 of 9. I mean, that's just... it's bonkers. It's bonkers. But who cares about Indiana? I mean, they stunk for a portion of that. Purdue is one of the best programs in college basketball, and Rutgers has won 5 of 6, including 2 at Mackey, the hardest place to play in the Big Ten, one of the hardest in the country, and then now 2 as Purdue, number 1 ranked in the country. It's unbelievable stuff. I mean, I still remember, 2016. I believe it was January 5th, 2016. I have to look that up. 6 years, almost to the day. They lost at home under Eddie Jordan by 50 points to Purdue. 50 points. And they now, back-to-back years, have beaten Purdue, number 1. Just unbelievable performance from this team tonight. I keep saying unbelievable. Just tremendous performance from this team. And going back to what I asked Peichel about with, the foul trouble, so many players, are going through it. He talked about just everyone gave them something in this game. Everyone was ready. Everyone contributed. Going back to Cam Spencer, what I loved about him making that shot was not that he made the shot, that he had he didn't take it in flow. He got disrupted. He had to, pump fake, or get out of the way of a defender and then, calm himself before he took the shot. But top of the key is a great spot for him. And then you have, the fact that I looked it up. I mean, he hadn't taken a shot since the 13-minute mark of the game. To take that kind of shot in that spot with the game on the line, and you hadn't taken a shot in 13 minutes, and you're playing with 4 fouls. So he was disjointed. He was in and out of the game. He was not in the flow of the game. He is a big game shot taker. And, I this is not a brag. I'm just stating facts. I've said this throughout the season. I said it on the pod with Jerry Carino recently. I really have believed that Cam Spencer could be the guy to take that shot with the game on the line. And he was. And him and Mulcahy, they're really tight. They're roommates. Mulcahy, I also think deserves credit for the fact that he didn't force it. He had been the guy. He had gotten to that point in the game. And he didn't try to force something and, get double teamed or turn it over. He recognized that Cam was going to be open. And his penetration allowed for the kick out to get Cam space. And that kind of awareness too. I mean, Mulcahy's a winner. And that was I thought that was a really savvy move from Mulcahy to get Spencer the ball the way he did. And then, as my wife likes to say, I mean, it can never be easy. And, with that whole thing of the 0.4 seconds and McConnell shifting his feet or whatnot, listen, this team, and the way, if you go look back at that tape, I mean, the way they defended the paint in that last play, I mean, Rutgers they went out there tonight and they left it all on the line and they played extremely smart. 2 things that stuck out to me in terms of statistics, 26 to 22 points in the paint for Rutgers, which is really just, I would not have expected that at all. Purdue was shooting 56% from 2-point range coming into the game. They held them under 50%. It was like 48%. But to outscore Purdue in the paint, I mean, Zach Edey averages 23 a game. The entire team scored 22 in the paint. So that's phenomenal. And then also the fact that they were +3 in turnover margin. They forced 13 Purdue turnovers, and they 18 to 11 outscored them in points off of turnovers. That's the ball game right there. So Purdue came into the game 15th in turnover rate, 15th lowest offensive turnover rate in the country, and number 2 in offensive rebounding. And Rutgers had 1 less offensive rebound, 1 more second chance point. And rebounding, they were -3 in the game. But, I mean, they held their own. They held their own against Purdue on the boards. They had to do it. And defensively, I just thought the fact that they went through that foul trouble, they went through that adversity, and they were able to come through. They were able to overcome it. They did not lose their focus. They did not lose their intensity. Purdue made some big shots. Credit to them. Purdue's a very good team. I mean, I cracked up when people were tweeting at me, in the second half saying, Rutgers is falling apart and the offense. And it's like, they're playing the number 1 team in the country, guys. Like, come on. Like, they have something to do with this. It's not just Rutgers not, executing. So At any rate, here we are. Rutgers now 2-1 in the Big Ten, and they got the biggest win they could get. They don't have to play Purdue the rest of the year. Before this game, Rutgers was favored in 11 of the remaining 18 Big Ten games. They had at least a 43% chance, or 40% chance in 14 of them. And I think now my last kind of point I want to leave on is the biggest thing is now you have two more games this week. You have Maryland and Iowa at home. You got to win those games. Win those games. You sit 4-1 in Big Ten play at the end of this week. You're legitimately in the hunt for the Big Ten title. 25% through the regular season. You got to win these two games. You got to hold serve at home. Then you go to Northwestern next week, and then you get Ohio State at home. These next four games are huge. Nothing's going to take away from this win. Metrics-wise, it's going to be huge. But, listen, this team is good enough. I don't know if they're good enough to win the Big Ten, but they're good enough to challenge for the Big Ten. With their defense and when they're connected on offense, they're not the best shooting team. They're not the best offensive team. But when they're this connected together, and Pikel talked about it in the postgame, just how tight this team is, the chemistry, the way they believe with each other, how the newcomers have blended in with the veterans. That to me, and I talked about it after the last game, that to me stands out as this team being special. I really think that it's giving them an element that I don't want to say was missing, but it just elevates this team in terms of they have something special going on chemistry-wise, and it's elevating their performances. And defensively, they're elite. They showed it again tonight, holding Purdue to 64 points, 40% shooting. Like I said, holding them at 22 points in the paint is just insane. Also, one other stat I had to bring up. Rutgers committed 13 more fouls, and Purdue shot 17 more free throws. And Rutgers won the game. On the road, that's nuts. So they were also very good from 9 of 11, I think, from the foul line. So they took advantage of those. They made, they made some threes. They were, didn't shoot a tremendous percentage, but made 6 threes. You got to make 5 to 6 threes a game in Big Ten play to win. So at any rate, just tremendous win from this team. Can't say enough. It's just great to see them fight through all the adversity they've fought through already, and to come out on the other side like this. Now you have everything was within their grasp right now, and they just got to keep trucking. And you got Maryland and Iowa this week. Win those games, and then we're seriously cooking with gas. Thanks so much for watching.